All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. You can see I am very, very lonely on stage today, but I believe my co-host for the morning intro is here with me. So, morning, Kev. Big question for the morning. Do you have a baby name yet?
I don't, Pete. I don't have a baby name as of yet.
So, all those suggestions from yesterday didn't help.
They're great suggestions. It's just not one that's jumping out yet.
All right, brilliant. I'm sure you'll work it out. Kev, what can people look forward to this morning?
Pete, it's a jam-packed day. We've got a lot. So the whole day, we're talking about coding and robotics throughout all the sessions. And then in between the sessions, we've got Dean McCaubrey. He'll be talking about, in our rush to get all this technology into the schools, especially during this whole COVID thing, what did we actually miss? So as schools, with us putting all this technology in there, is there something we missed? And then I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's the first session.
Yep, that's first.
And then a little bit later, we've got Rob Faltermeyer. So Robert Faltermeyer, he's from Jeppy Boys, for those that don't know, and he's going to be talking to us. He's going to be sharing some of his master studies with us on innovation design spaces. So tech is powerful, but some of the spaces that we use the tech in. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Brilliant. Once again, on the chat bar, say good morning and where you are from. I see Zelda was first up this morning. So Zelda, so nice to see you there. I'm going to invite Ashley Lawrence just to pop on stage. We have a couple of questions for him before our day starts. But just one update, our competition yesterday, if I mentioned the C word, we are now cancelling that competition. I'm sorry to say that one's out, but I've got a new competition coming. Don't worry, that's going to have you on the chat bar. And the reason why we are cancelling that one is sadly my co-host that has been replaced by Kev, we had to send home because we think she has the dreaded C word. So I think a lot of you teachers are sitting and schools are sitting in a place with many of your pupils at home. So we've had to send her home. But so that competition is not running, but we've got some others coming up soon. So before we get to our first speaker, we just wanted to pop Ashley Lawrence from Sonic Wall on. So as you all know, Sonic Wall always gives us the best Take-A-Lot prizes to give away. And we just feel like we just like them out. But we are getting, with the cybersecurity being such a big thing for schools, we're getting quite a few questions coming through. So Kev and I are going to give some rapid fire questions to Ashley, if that's all right.
100%.
Awesome. So Kev, you're up for the first one.
Okay, I've got one here. I was actually looking through the community. So just excuse me if I look over here. I'm just looking at what people have asked. So Ashley, I've got one over here. I know Sonic Wall does pretty much anything with security. You guys do firewall, you've got wireless, you've got antivirus, you've got cloud-based stuff, you've got a stack of things over there. And one of the questions here is, do you offer trade-ins for devices?
100%. Yes, we do. It's normally apples for apples. So obviously, if you want to buy a firewall, we trade in a firewall. If you've got some old access points and you want to go for a secure access point solution, we do that. And also on software-based systems. So if you want to go from a software-based firewall to a virtual firewall, we can do that. But yeah, we have something called the Customer Loyalty Program. You can be looked at on our website. If anybody wants to know specifically, then obviously we can reply to them. But yes, we do have a customer advantage, customer loyalty program.
Cool. Ashley, next question's coming from me. We're just going to keep them rapid firing in at you. So lots of questions just around like kind of OpEx, rental. So does Sonic Wall actually offer a managed security service?
100%. So initially, there's the whole OpEx versus CapEx. So we have a program called Security as a Service. It's a zero upfront payment. And it's physical hardware as a service provided by one of our certified and accredited partners. So yes is the answer. Available to all schools on a minimum term. I think it's 12 months minimum term, but it's an OpEx thereafter.
Cool.
Awesome. I've got one actually here. This one says, I'm just trying to find another question here. Oh, here's one. Okay, so Ashley, I know you've spoken about like a partner locator. It's like a tool on your webpage where we can basically go in and see who's in my area and who can assist. So this person's asked, which Sonic Wall partner is recommended in Cape Town?
Cool. Well, actually quite close to you. Well, to you guys, to Pete and crew. We have a long-standing partner, 15 years plus, in Stellenbosch, called Cyberlogic, or IET Cyberlogic is the holding company. So yeah, they would be our go-to gold partner or metal tier, most senior partner in Cape Town. So yeah, lots of skills, lots of school customers, and actually do quite a lot of charity work around the schools. And we're actually working on a project with them at the moment. So yeah, good guys.
That's awesome. And actually, I think a good follow-on question is just training. It's one thing getting a whole pile of cool tech, but you actually then help the schools.
100%. So we always talk about kind of multiple layers of support. So obviously we've got us as the vendor, hopefully your certified partner and to do your implementation, and obviously you want to do some training in-house, some support, tier 1 support in-house. And obviously the guys who want to do that, like Kev, who's a bit of a technologist, says, well, I want a badge, what do I need to do? So we have 2 training courses on the firewalls, basic and advanced, SNSA administrator, and SNSP, which is the professional, and it's a virtual course, so you can do it from anywhere in South Africa, no travel required, and it's a 2-day instructor-led course available from an authorized training partner, which is based up here in Joburg. But I mean, yes, we have a South African training partner that can provide Sonical badges for people who wish to get trained and certified.
Brilliant. Ashley, that is absolutely amazing. I just think for everyone out there, I'm actually going to pop a poll on. So if you would like the team from Sonic Wall to contact you, Ashley is amazing. He will give you a chat. They will bring in a partner. Also, just remember, Ashley is happy if you just at that stage where you're like, not sure where to go, what to do, please just reach out to him. So what you can do is in the poll, you can go, yes, I'm happy for the team from Sonic Wall to contact me. That allows us then to share your information with them so that they can contact you, so that we are POPI compliant. And then I think Ashley, Kev and I were wondering, you're giving all these Take-A-Lot vouchers to everyone. When do we get Take-A-Lot vouchers as hosts?
Well, I just spoke to my coffee guys, and they're going to be, I just need to get your delivery address. I'm not going to send it to the Innovation Hub there in Stilly. Someone will probably take it. So we'll have to organize you some dark coffee beans. But I think Ash's birthday's around the corner. She's first up. You know, the usual story. You get a day off work and a Take-A-Lot voucher on your birthday.
All right, I'm in for that. I'm sure it's my birthday tomorrow. All right, Ashley, once again, thank you. We will, everyone, this event is possible because of incredible sponsors like Sonic Wall. So a big thank you to Ashley and his team. So please fill in that poll, connect with Ashley. He's a great guy. He'll have a cup of coffee with you, and he'll sort out your cybersecurity and advise. So Ashley, thank you so much once again.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Kevin. Enjoy the day. I'm really looking forward to today's stuff. Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
All right, so Kev, before we bring on our first speaker, so Dean, if you are in the background, you can pop on stage. So Kev, this one I think you're gonna like. So we've dropped the COVID, there's Dean, we've dropped the COVID competition. So that's not happening, but what we want to do is today is all about coding, it's all about robotics, and I was looking through the prizes, and the guys from Too Simple have got a 2,000 to 2,500 Rand customized pamper pack for a teacher personally, to look after you, because they believe in looking after you. And I said, what the heck is in a pamper pack? And they said, when they know who's won it, they will then put it together. So they said, Pete, if it was you, we would put together like a little leather shaving kit with a brush and leather case. And if it's a lady, we'll do something different. So we're going to actually customize it. So the competition works as follows. So Too Simple, remember these names. Too Simple, Python in Pieces, and Purple Mash. So it's Too Simple, Python in Pieces, and Purple Mash. So anytime Kevin, any of the hosts say one of those brand names, which are part of Too Simple, in the chat bar, if you put your name, the first 3 people that answer will go into the draw to win that. So we're going to run it this morning and this afternoon. So let's practice. Is everyone ready on your chat bar? Kev, what was one of the words again?
Python in pieces.
Boom. Let's see if anyone gets that in. Henry, I think you've just won it. So we've got 3 people coming in. Let me see who else. I'm just looking at the chat bar. I can't see. My chat bar has disappeared. All right. But everyone, that is enough. So every time we mention Too Simple, first 3 people in will go into that draw. And I think it's a pretty cool prize. All right. Kevin, thank you so much. We appreciate you jumping on. Just a reminder, Kevin is IT manager at, or head of innovation and tech at Faramir, doing some amazing stuff in the school. So please, if you want to check him out, go visit his Tech Guru on the expo booth. We've got a couple of Tech Gurus where you can book time just to chat one-on-one with people that might have got a superpower in an area. So Kev, Kev, hopefully you'll let us know when you have a baby name.
I'll do my best, Pete.
All right. Kev, thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough from Kev and myself. It is now time to bring on our first speaker. So today is all about coding and robotics, but one of the things we wanted to carry is just with all this tech out there, sometimes it can feel like you've missed a step. So Dean is from My Social Life. He's a well-known local and international speaker. Everyone hits him up for conferences just because he's so dynamic to listen to. So I'm really excited that he's going to be on. Dean, if I can hand over to you, the next 10 minutes, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. I'm just going to hit my timer because otherwise I get myself in all sorts of trouble. Firstly, thank you, Peter, Annika, Ashley, Sonic Wall, everybody. Really, it's amazing that we have this opportunity. I'm going to start with why am I here? What I want people to remember about what My Social Life does is really we are the bridge around social media, gaming, apps, digital trends. We are the people that liaise with adolescents about their online life. And from that perspective, we are able to share insights with them, their teachers, the parents and well-being professionals or psychologists in order to be able to tell them what's really happening in the social landscape. The problem is as you said, coding, robotics, the most amazing things inside your summit, but it's complicated for the kids. Just yesterday, my 13-year-old, her best friend, had a seizure and has ended up in hospital from COVID-19. And now she is isolating like myself. She literally was rushed to hospital. And it creates fear. There's a lot that's going on when you are exposed all the time online. You are consuming all the time online. So yes, coding, robotics, cloud, everything, absolutely superb. But are we aware of what our adolescents, our teens and our preteens are consuming online? So let's think about that. I'm going to share something with you right now. Okay, let's have a look at some slides here.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially what we want to talk about is this has been a rough 18 months. There have been some low times. There have been some highs. There are still a phenomenal amount of uncertainty ahead of us right now. It's exhausting for teachers and for parents who are also trying to juggle COVID struggling businesses. But I think together, all of us, we've done pretty well. I think it's pretty amazing. But what we are seeing at My Social Life is that there's a lot of kids that are anxious based upon the consumption of all of the information that they can get their hands on at any given time. Parents are struggling. Teachers are struggling. Some have been sick. Some have passed. We've had a teacher that passed in our school where my daughters are. But we are an essential service. We are here to try and help these kids through this unparalleled time. We got to turn up. We got to show up. Sometimes we even got to put up with all the stuff. I was going to use a bad word there. We've just got to put up with it. And there's bad behavior that happens online and in school. So how? What can I offer you? we need to rethink about connection, because when you reconnect, when you put a plug into the wall and you flick that switch on, it reignites a number of things. We get to be able to communicate, a two-way stretch. That's what learning's about. We get to fire up passion. Kids are looking bored, they're tired, they're distracted, they're on black screens, they are tapping away on TikTok in the middle of your lessons. Some of you will say they're not, but they might be. We can reignite belief, our own belief in teaching, and the kids' belief in being taught. Okay, cool, Dean, right, but how? So here's the deal. I think we need to accept the new landscape. Of course, you've accepted the e-learning landscape, but with our kids, our teens and our preteens heads down, all the gaming, sometimes the bad behavior, the TikTok on campus, whether you like that or you don't like that, our kids are stuck in this vortex. Addictive tech platforms, games, video, and social, I'm not against them, but they are obsessive, which are triggering responses in our brain, our physiology, at a time in which they are very vulnerable. And they have got exposure to global influencers, global news, and those people can connect with them too. So the reality is for us is that our kids are gamified. They are exposed. Are we going to work with it or against it? This is going to be your choice. A lot of teachers are really frustrated by how kids are behaving and reacting in both a digital and on-campus context. We speak to people around the world. I was speaking to the Knox School in Melbourne, for example, and he said he cannot believe the change in behavior because of what has happened during the pandemic. This guy, Daniel Pink, talks about in his masterclass, look up masterclass.com, on sales and persuasion. He says, we need to be attuned. We need to put ourselves in the shoes of our subjects, of the people that we are teaching. Have we lost our passion for persuasion? Teaching is actually about persuasion, the migration of content from me to you and the absorption and the memory of it. But the challenge is that there's information asymmetry. Kids can see stuff, find out stuff. They like to challenge you. They think that they know a lot, but yet they lack the emotional maturity. So we've got to take them by storm, right? We've got to surprise them. We've got to fire them up. We've got to do it to ourselves. We've got to meet them where they are on their topics. We've got to chat with them about their online world. Take an interest, be curious. They're going to tell you stuff that maybe you don't like. They're going to try and showboat, but wow, they are revealing. And inside that revelation, they are offering doorways for you to be able to make connections which will ensure that what you're teaching them gets absorbed a little bit deeper. I'll give you an example. In a homework session, ask them online, on Insta, TikTok, Snapchat, any of those channels, who's the best online educator of the subject that you teach, in their opinion? I'm going to show you something in a minute. See if they can go out and find people that are creating videos and posts and stories which are actually teaching the subject perhaps even better than you. Scratch beneath the popular culture that they find themselves in. Have a look, just trigger them by saying, don't be awkward about it, but say, like, what is that? What's the whole Charlie D'Amelio thing? Just have a look at something like this. I literally just typed in yesterday, TikTok trends. Have a look at them. Those are doorways that are presented to you to start firing them up. Talk to them about things that they're watching and ask them why they like it. What do they see in that aesthetic? What are the issues that are real? What is not real? Because these are bridges. It really creates a connection when they're actually tuning out. Games, those generate energy and competition and chat and spice. The only challenge, of course, is that it can get out of control. But 2 or 3 minute breakaways on topics which are related to their world are actually really refreshing in a very repetitive and sometimes monotonous lesson. Shake up your lesson plan. Just checking my time. What does engagement look like? What would they design in terms of your lessons? 10-minute chunks with a 1-minute break? where they put music into it and so on. Show them stuff they don't know from the world's best. Have a look at this. This guy, look him up, David Syme, absolutely daily shows the most insane stuff on virtual reality and augmented reality. Or look out for Anthony J. James, write these names down. These guys are showing the coolest cutting edge tech, and it just gets people wowed, and you are responsible for that wow. Look on TikTok, maths.hacks. Show kids that there's more to social media than just social media and influencers. Go and make them look behind those doors. Show them cool tricks like Google Lens. Download the Google app. And I mean, iOS is now going to have, I think it's called the virtual toolkit, play kit, I think it's called. And that you just literally snap a photograph. I did it just now of a palm tree outside my house. And it showed me that it was a canary palm or something. It was like insane. But with you showing that you're in touch, you get to own some of that space. Look at this, iPhone photography school. People say to me, what are you talking about, man? I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to talk about iPhone photography, but these are breaks in the lesson. Try new tools that are proven to engage. Get kids to write. This is a great opportunity for kids to write articles. It's like Medium. It's a blogging platform for kids. Look up Fan School. Look up Storybird. Their belief is start any story with a picture. That means that I've got 2 minutes to go. Start any story with a picture. Our kids live in a world of pictures. In order for us to move them beyond the blank page, they start with a picture. Look at Glogster. They can create multimedia posters where they can pull things in from Wikipedia and images and videos into a live multimedia poster. Kahoot, tons of you guys will already use Kahoot, an ability to check in with them and quiz them about stuff. Look at Quizlet. They've got 500 million study sets. You don't even have to do the work. Lots of kids tell me that they love things like Quizlet and Kahoot. Check out Seesaw. Check out My Social Life. We teach 8 modules, 8 hours of training about their world online, privacy, security, sexuality online, digital identity, critical thinking, all the stuff that is right front and center in their life. Build a playlist, kids dig music, get onto Spotify, even get them to collaborate on a playlist while they're working on a project. Put some tunes on in the back. I know this sounds crazy. This is where they are. What will happen when you open those doors? And because they're struggling, offer focus and calming tools. Take the first 2 minutes, particularly with the younger grades, grade 6 and below, just get them to slow down. And you can use things like Sanvello or Headspace or Calm. But ultimately, and I'm coming down to the final thing now, what we need to do is we need to realize that we need to get them to learn how to hold the pencil, which is the phone and the tablet and the gaming console and any other e-learning device, because we've thrown it at them, but I'm not sure that we've taught them how to hold it. We did with a pencil. So my parting shot is that your energy is so worth it, but it is hard right now. It is draining. Not for everybody, I get it, but you are doing an insane job. You are the bridge, you are the pivot for them to be able to truly grow on a number of different levels. So thank you.
Dean, that is amazing. Thank you. Something so small as a playlist, that will rock kids' minds. I know some teachers will play music every now and again, but just just going for something completely different like that is absolutely phenomenal. So Dean, I think there was so much in there. Can I ask a favor? Can you please take your presentation and upload it as a PDF to your expo booth, the My Social Life?
Yes.
And then I also just want to mention, Dean has very kindly said he will do a free parent webinar to train your school's parents. Normally a ticket is about 140 Rand. So, and he'll run it. It's online, it's virtual, so it can happen now during COVID. You can get as many parents as you want to come. So he says normally you get about 100 parents. So this would be worth kind of like 14,000 Rand. I know, I really hope my kids' school is on, because I know they wanted this desperately. But it's all about online safety for parents to learn what to do with their kids, about social media, gaming, digital citizenship. So if you're sitting there going, our parents need some help, our parents need a handle, what I'm going to ask is, there is a poll live at the moment, and it asks, do you think your school would benefit from teaching kids online respect, digital safety, and coping skills online? And then the poll result, the answer one is yes, we would benefit. Please connect us to my social life. Or 2, no thanks, we sorted in this regard. So if you click yes or no, you will go into the prizes. So Dean has been very kind, so don't feel like you have to say yes, but if you say yes, it allows us to connect you with Dean. And I think parents at the moment need a handle. You know, technology is so new, in the same way that schools need a handle on how to do this, how to embrace it, how to be relevant for the learners. It makes so much sense that the parents need that help. I'm a parent, I need that help. So Dean, thank you, that was amazing. People can visit you on your expo booth, so hit exhibitors, and you find my social life. So, and please enter that poll. Dean, thank you so much. That was so fresh. I wish I had more music in my class as a kid. So thank you.
Yeah, totally. Thank you very much. I put a video inside the chat box for everybody. Have a look at it. It's called How to Hold the Pencil. It's something that we created using a 20-year-old videographer. It is mind-bending. Please watch it. Thank you.
All right, Dean, that was excellent. Thanks so much. Everyone, you're not allowed to watch now. You can watch that just now. We'll repost it at the end, because now we're bringing on a real teacher speaker. So I'm going to ask Yasmin to pop on stage. Oh, there she is, ready to go. And I think what's really cool is Yasmin has kind of introduced STEAM, these kind of concepts when it comes to coding, robotics, and she's actually done it in 2 schools. So she has done it in Pridwin, I think it was, and now she's at Roedean and she's implementing it, and she's the director of academic operations. So I think she's got a lot of knowledge when it comes to this idea of STEAM, coding, robotics. How do you do this thing? So Yasmin, welcome on stage.
Hi, Peter. Thank you so much for the introduction. Can you hear me? Are we all fine?
Yeah, you are crystal clear. I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me and for the invitation to speak today. I'm absolutely passionate about coding and robotics and STEAM, and I'd love to just go through my presentation and talk to you about what I've done. So I'm trying this a little bit differently. I'm going to share my whole screen and hope for the best.
In see Effortless Coding and Robotics.
Effortless Coding and Robotics, and in brackets it's with STEAM, because that is the subject area that I'm very passionate about. So for today's presentation, I'm going to, sorry, I just want to put on my timer as well. I'm going to talk about 2 different things. I'm going to start with the STEAM and then go on to coding and robotics. So for the first section on STEAM, I'll talk to you a little bit about my background, why I like STEAM, how I link it to CAPS, and how I conceptualize it. And then I'm going to go through a little bit more of a practical section with the recommended platforms and tech that I use. And then just finish off with coding and robotics, your myths versus your facts, because I think there's a lot of talk in the media about why it should be done or shouldn't be done. So we'll just go through that a little bit as well. So just to start, why I love STEAM, how it's linked, and what it means to me. Peter, what I've noticed is that with different schools, they've all got different understandings of what STEAM is. So that's why I'll go through that. A little bit about my background. I began coding at primary school with Logo. For people that are old enough to remember, that was a little turtle on a black and green screen. Logo is incredible. I think it was really empowering and gave me a lot of confidence. I started that in standard 4 or grade 6. My love for computers was sparked with Logo. I ended up doing computer studies as a subject in high school. Very sadly for me at the time, there were as many girls in the class as there were Jonathans. Girls didn't really see coding and robotics as a girl subject. I went on in university studying information systems and working in IT. And I later decided to have a career change and went into teaching. At my teaching pracs, I was introduced to STEAM as a subject at Crawford College, a remarkable program put together by 3 of my ex-teachers, which is quite special for me. And I introduced that as a subject at Pridwin, where I started developing the curriculum. Pridwin already had coding and robotics. I'm sorry, not coding and robotics. They had computer studies and robotics already as subjects. And with STEAM, this just became something that was integrated and built upon. And now I'm at Roedean collaborating on the coding and robotics curriculum for Roedean. Coding and robotics already happens from the junior school right up until the high school, but from next year it will be a separate subject, which is incredibly exciting for me. People often ask me why STEAM, and this is taken from a STEAM poster that art and science is equal to progress. I came across this poster by the University of Florida, the sort of infographic, and they speak about your STEM skills on this side, on the left-hand side, versus your STEAM skills. And just something to point out, I know this is really small, so if people would like to have a look, just pop onto the University of Florida's website where they've got the infographic. But the brain focus of your STEM skills, they say, are deductive reasoning, problem solving, inductive reasoning, and problem sensitivity. Whereas with your STEAM skills, you're looking at creativity and innovation, you're looking at critical thinking and problem solving, communication and collaboration, and social and cross-cultural skills. They say that when you add the humanities to the sciences, you get deep learning in both areas, which for me is quite important. When I was thinking about STEAM at Pridwin, I thought about, when we did this, there wasn't a coding and robotics curriculum already. So I thought about the sort of skills that we wanted to develop in our students. And I thought that it would be wonderful to have a foundation to your FET subjects. So I looked at the CAPS IT, engineering and design, and computer applications technology. For IT, we looked at coding concepts, website and app development, and computer theory. For engineering and design, it was electrical systems, mechanical systems, the engineering design process, and CAD. And for computer applications technology, which is not too relevant to today's presentation, was productivity software, design software, and research. So that is basically the foundation of STEAM. I've used STEAM, which is normally science, technology, engineering, art, and maths, and made it computer science, information and communication technology, robotics and engineering, digital art and design, and then the mathematics I've changed to media and research because I think that's just more appropriate to the Roedean environment. So that was just a brief introduction into the why and how of, the why of STEAM, and now I'm going to go through a little bit of the how. What I find is that people use the words coding and robotics quite interchangeably. So I just would like to, I found this wonderful definition here from this Congressional School blog, and they say that coding is essentially written instructions that a robot or computer program can read and then execute. And robotics allows students to see their thinking in a real way as they go through trial and error until the task is accomplished and the robot's motions are performed as originally intended. I think it is very important for schools that are going on this journey to understand the difference between the two. You can code without robotics, but you cannot necessarily do robotics too much without the coding. Very briefly, just on my recommended coding platforms, I'm going to go through these as well. I know that we've got some school leaders and decision makers on here, so I've got 3 recommended coding platforms that I use. Code.org is wonderful for grades 0 to 12. I'm so sorry if I've got sun on my face. I can't see my camera right now. I've got CS First with Google for grades 3 to 9 and MakeCode.org for grade 5 to 9. I'd like to point out that all of these platforms are completely free. The resources that have been developed are absolutely phenomenal. I use Code.org extensively to introduce concepts that I then reinforce with the robotics side of it. The CS First with Google is obviously developed by Google and uses Scratch, and MakeCode is by Microsoft. Then the robotics tech, I've got BBots and BlueBots for grade 0 and 1, the Microbit for grades 5 to 9, and Lego Robotics for grade 0 to 9. And I'm going to go through those in a bit more detail now. So starting with the coding platforms, these are free. They include a number of teacher resources like lesson plans, training videos, presentations, videos. Some of them even include student tracking. So starting with code.org. Code.org is really my go-to. They've got a number of courses available. If you use the fundamentals course, that's normally recommended for primary school environment. Those are divided into, courses A to F. You could use the Fundamentals Express just as a hop-on course, but they've got CS Discoveries, which is a little bit more app design and web development, and CS Principles for your senior school students as well. It is such a wonderful program. What it allows you to do as well, it allows students to work at their own pace. It gives them instantaneous feedback. It's more of a gamified environment, and it just really shows students how they can code, gives them, it'll give them feedback as they go along and give instructions. The puzzles get incrementally harder, which is wonderful. I know that students absolutely love this platform. What I love about code.org as well is that it's got lessons in different areas. So it starts with sequencing. You can do a lesson on sprites, events. All of your coding concepts are explained, and I suppose you learn by doing in code.org. So this is a wonderful, wonderful resource for people who are starting out with coding. Moving on to CS First with Google. CS First with Google is also wonderful. It works with MIT Scratch. It has a number of different 1-hour lessons that you could use. It's got 6-unit lessons that you could use if you wanted to, an hour of code, and it all works with Scratch with MIT. So these are the multi-day units that you can link to different subject areas. I really like using dialogue with direct and indirect speech. This is an example of something that one of my students had done. This, I think, is a grade 4 student who just used dialogue over here to code the fish and diver to chat to each other a little bit, it's quite nice for students to get an understanding of how to time their dialogue, how to write things so that they look correct. It gives them a little bit of math where they're looking at X and Y coordinates. I think that the CS First with Google and Scratch work quite well together, and they're fully guided lessons, which takes a lot of the, I suppose, the guesswork out of trying to teach this, and also gives teachers lesson plans, which is absolutely remarkable. Another one of my really wonderful go-tos are the Microsoft MakeCode environment. Microsoft MakeCode allows you to use different robotics technology. You could use your microbits, you could use your Lego Mindstorms, circuit fruits, just whatever it is that you use. The wonderful thing about this platform is it also has a whole curriculum that you can follow. It gives you different lessons, you get instant results. And if I have a look, so Microsoft Arcade is where you could make 2-dimensional games. The wonderful thing about the MakeCode environment is it always offers a simulator, so you don't actually need hardware, but it gives you tutorials on how to make different games, which is also a wonderful way for you to get started. You could start with something that you could do in one go, or you could have a multi-part tutorial. I personally use this not so much for the arcade, but I use it a lot for microbit. What I really love is that students can pick a project that interests them. It's wonderful to give them a sense of choice and do something that excites them. The other very special thing about your MakeCode environment is, I did mention that it supports various platforms. What I wanted to mention is that with the microbit, it does give you a simulator, which just tells you what to do before you download it. But because it links to a physical computing device, it does make it a lot more interesting than if you're just coding. So that links a little bit to the robotics. My robotics platforms that I enjoy, so I see that I'm running a bit out of time here. I've got a colleague at Pridwin who develops a coding curriculum for grade 0 and 1. These little robots don't require a screen at all, but it's similar to Logo in that you code and let something move forward and back. This little B-bot moves forward, back, left, and right. I've got Lee's Pinterest board here if anyone wants to just have a look, but she's got wonderful ideas on how to do coding and robotics in the foundation phase. I recommend that for grade 0 to 1. The microbit is what I've just mentioned now in MakeCode. It includes a curriculum and a simulator, and you can connect this to various electrical components. So it's also a wonderful tool if you're wanting to consolidate things like circuits, because you could connect these little pins with wires to lights and program them to do different things. It's a wonderful little tool and quite inexpensive as well. But my absolute favorite, if I have to choose something, my absolute favorite from all of the platforms that I use is the Lego Learning System. Lego supports STEAM with various products that are designed for different grades. There's the We Do, that's for grade 0 to 2, Spike for grades 3 to 5 is how I've used it, and the EV3 for grades 5 to 7 that I used at Pridwin. EV3 has unfortunately been retired, but I think the Lego system is absolutely phenomenal in any event. I've used, before I even get there, I'm actually just going to show you what the Lego website looks like. Lego also does training for teachers. The people that we deal with, our suppliers at Hands on Tech, are wonderful in doing training. At Pridwin, they did training with all of the foundation phase teachers who incorporated Lego into their PBL units rather than having it as a separate subject. Just to give you an example, you can select by the set that you want, and they've got science lessons with predators. You could really link it to any topic that you're doing. If you're doing reptiles, or they've got it covered. If you're doing something on frogs, there's a whole 8-lesson unit on frogs that links to the Lego We Do, and you could do the same thing for any other subject. I think this is such a wonderful, wonderful teacher resource with lesson plans, ideas, build instructions, and you edit it as you want to. What I also really like about Lego is the engineering component, because it teaches students how to use your gears and levers in a competition setting. So just to give you an example of how we use Lego at Pridwin, we use paired coding where, with Lego, you do teach in pairs. My boys always worked in groups, but this is an example of grade 7s teaching grade 0s how to code. The grade 0s had ramps as a theme for that lesson, so they brought their own ramps and they experimented with the incline of the ramp and the speed of the robot and how many rotations they would need to do to go up a ramp. That was quite a special lesson. I think the grade 0s loved it more than, or the grade 7s loved it more than the grade 0s rather. Lego is also wonderful for competitions. They have the World Robot Olympiad, which encourages students to learn about engineering. What they do is take these driving bases and add an arm to them that completes a task on a mat. So it gives them a lot of ideas in terms of building, designing, collaborating, because they work in groups of 2 and 3. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience. We've also used Lego for project-based learning units. So this is an example of students that were making something that could extinguish fires. And they've got their little Lego fire extinguisher over there with a heat sensor that tells you when there's a fire. And they've added a whole bunch of sensors and really built something that's fit for purpose, incorporating it into what they were learning about in social sciences. So Lego really, really is my absolute, if I have to choose a favorite. This is the Lego platform. You can see that they've got different modules with different lessons as well, just depending on what you're wanting to use. And if you have a look here, these blocks it's Scratch-based, so very similar to the CS First with Google, sorry. And that's my alarm to tell me that I'm done. And I've used this in a web sort of environment where I've given students an opportunity or given them resources on how to code. I love that it reinforces math, the greater than, less than, negative numbers, positive numbers. It just teaches them how to think so beautifully. So just to finish off, sorry, I know I'm going a little bit over time. I just want to go through some myths and facts around robotics. Myth 1 is that schools can't afford it. As I've shown you earlier, there are a number of free platforms that are absolutely phenomenal. Also, you could code without any technology. You could use, the teacher that I spoke to you about earlier taught coding with whiteboards and markers as a start. To say that teachers don't have the skills, you don't need a coding background to teach coding and robotics. Screen time is an issue. I find that with a lot of the robotics platforms that we use, students are not looking at a screen. Half the time they're trying to figure out why the robot did what it did. Someone said, I read an article yesterday that teaching robotics kills creativity. I find that it's absolutely the opposite. Coding and robotics promotes creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. It promotes problem solving. It's really amazing. And then here's something that I get a lot, that coding and robotics is only something you need to learn in high school. You don't need to do it. You don't need to teach young children. I find that the earlier you start with coding and robotics, the better for children. It doesn't teach them how to program necessarily. It teaches them what promotes their higher order thinking skills. It reinforces concepts in other subjects, particularly numeracy and mathematics. I think coding is crucial in a school environment, and I hope that this presentation was a little bit helpful in showing you how you could do this in a school. And I hope that it's inspired you to do this at your school. Thank you so much.
Yasmin, that is awesome. If you want to end your presentation and turn your camera on just so we can see you again, that was phenomenal. Just we were having a conversation in the office because there's a couple of us here, and like I'm just so jealous of kids in this generation. There's just so much that they have that they can access and they can do, and just looking at that whole spectrum of what you covered is just incredible. So Yasmin, I've got a question for you.
Cool.
Why do you think that coding, and you mentioned the foundation phase teachers doing coding and robotics just in the normal lesson. Why do you think coding and robotics should be broader than just a coding and robotics class? Any thoughts on that?
I think that it helps children understand the links between your different subjects. It's quite artificial to have your coding and robotics that happens just in a coding and robotics lesson. I think that it's also very useful to consolidate different subjects in a fun way. I think learning about greater than and less than science can be quite boring and flat if you're doing it in a workbook day after day after day. But when you're trying to get your robot to turn left and right, and you understand the difference between less than 80 degrees and more than minus 80 degrees, it makes a huge difference. And I find that students are so much more engaged with maths when they're learning it through robotics.
Yasmin, that is absolutely amazing, phenomenal. Okay, I'm going to ask everyone in the chat bar, can we give Yasmin some love? So just say thanks, or if you enjoyed your session, or thumbs up. I think it was so practical, and you went through so many products, yeah, incredible. So Yasmin, thank you so much. We appreciate just the time, the effort that you put into that. And I'm encouraged that there are going to be a couple of schools out there that are going to think about coding and robotics differently. So thank you for that. I see Edward has jumped onto stage, which I'm quite excited about. So what we knew Yasmin was going to talk about Lego. So we thought, if you are a school and you're interested in actually using Lego, it makes sense that we introduce you to the people that can help you with that. So Edward, if you want to unmute and say hi and where you're from, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Peter. And thanks so much to Yasmin as well. I'm from Hands of Technologies. We are the Lego education provider in sub-Saharan Africa. We've been so for the last 20 years. And after Yasmin's presentation, honestly, I'm just going to end there because she did my job for me.
Well said. No, it was amazing. Yeah, I think for product push, that was quite incredible.
Well, we don't even pay her. This is incredible. No. Cool. Yeah, so I'm just going to actually share with everyone the latest offering from Lego Education. There is something very exciting coming out just this week. On Tuesday, they brought out 2 new fantastic solutions. I'm just going to share my those new developments with you.
Cool. We can see your screen. Just push that other one across. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Fantastic.
Looking good.
Great stuff. Yeah, so from Lego Education this week, we have received the new Lego learning system. What this is a hands-on learning system that integrates all of their robotics and STEAM solutions together from grade 1 to grade 9. The second really exciting thing that has come from Lego Education this week is their Spike Essential on top. It is their new grade 1 to grade 5 offering. The Spike Prime next to it is their grade 5 to grade 8 offering. And underneath that, you've got the 2 brick cube motion sets, which are mechanical STEAM learning sets that are device free. So you don't need a computer or a tablet to actually use them and start learning STEAM and mechanics. Yeah, so what do you get with this Lego learning system? What it is actually a whole system that you buy into when you buy a Lego education set. So any set that you buy, you actually buy this Lego learning system, and it contains curriculum, programming, the Lego bricks, Lego hardware, the professional development, training and support that comes with each set. You know, each set comes with over 400 pieces of Lego, which is quite brilliant. With the curriculum units themselves, they're actually STEAM learning challenges. They give you the opportunity to grow from not knowing anything about STEAM and coding and robotics all the way through to actually becoming quite accomplished in 3 different coding languages. How it works is you get unit plans in each set, and each unit plan has 5 to 8 lessons. Each lesson is about 45 minutes long. You also have additional maths, arts, and language extensions to the lessons if you would like. Each unit has a theme, and as you progress through the lessons, you explore those themes. For example, Spike Essential has, you know, the carnival, going on a trip, touring the park, these things that relate to those children in the children in those grades. And then once you progress through these lessons, there are the first lessons are actually guided, so you would go one by one. They would show you which set to or robot to build. They would give you the code. Afterwards, you can explore some activities, you know, to enhance it. At the end of each unit, there is an open project, which allows students to actually take what they've learned in that lesson and then design their own robot and actually explore their own code. So it's an idea around, this is what we're looking at, but it's up to you now, using the skills you've learned to actually derive a solution. With the higher grade Spike Prime, you know, they go into more advanced topics such like the design engineering phase. How do we change machines into robots? How do we enhance our lifestyle with robotics? Such things. Each unit has about 6 to 10 hours, and with the extensions, you know, you're getting quite a lot of curriculum, over 100 hours of curriculum, so you can easily take 2 sets and use it across 6 grades. With that comes the bricks, obviously the Lego bricks, a brand that has been around a long time, and you know it's going to work. They even progress on the system bricks here. You can see on the left, the Lego is actually quite simplistic. Your basic pieces, as you go up to the higher grade, you actually start using the technique pieces and more advanced designs. You know, with that, you get the programming as well in the curriculum. The curriculum's free to download. You're welcome to download it now just to have a look. It goes from the basic icon blocks, which are Design 5+, through to the word blocks. How it does that is the first 2 lessons or units will actually use the icon blocks with the students, and then as you go on to further units, you actually do the word blocks. Then at the end of the Spike Prime set, which is your highest set, you actually move on to Python. And there's that progression that they're using the same system, but they're learning the expansive or the higher level coding languages. The Spike Essential does icon blocks and word blocks, and then the Spike Prime does the word blocks and Python. You also get the intelligent hardware. What this is the actual brain and sensors that come with your robotic set. For the Spike Essential, you got your small hub, your light matrix, your light sensor, and your small motors. All the lessons integrate these sensors into them somehow. It's really fascinating to see what sort of designs you can get. For example, they will show you how a grabber works in a door function, but also on a crocodile. So they show you the link between the mechanical and what comes from nature. For Spike Prime, you've got the medium motor, large motor, distance sensor, force sensor, and the large hub, as well as the light sensor. Both of the hubs have a gyro, which tells you where you are in space, and all of these pieces work in the system. So if you have one set or the other set, you can still use the same pieces or intelligent hardware across the units. In terms of professional development, what LEGO Education offers is an online learning tool for educators, where using 4 core concepts of 21st century skills, STEAM concepts, class management, and pedagogy, they actually take you through the set that you're using. They teach you on your own terms, in your own time, the different parts of the curriculum. They show you more as an educator of how you can actually get involved or use your sets better. Hands-on technology, as a provider, we supply training with all purchases on sets. We also support the sets. If your, for example, intelligent hardware stops working for whatever reason, we'll replace it after checking to see if we can't fix it. So all of that is included in this. Yeah, so that's really what this new LEGO learning system is that you buy one set, but you get the whole system together. There is no, hidden costs, no monthlies or yearly expenses. All of this is included with the one purchase. And finally, the really, really exciting part about LEGO Robotics is the fact that you can participate in 2 competitions, like Yasmin said. There's FLL and WRO, and what these are 2 different competitions that run at FLL runs August to April, WRO runs from January.
Sorry, just so you're aware, last 20 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and so with these competitions, you can get involved at an inter-school level in your area. You can come to our nationals, and if your students do well enough, they get invited to go overseas. Yeah, and that is about it. If you do want more information, please have a look at handsontech.co.za or just get in contact with me.
Edward, absolutely amazing. Like the little boy inside of me just wants to go play. I want to get my Lego out and get going. It's like, that looks so awesome. And it was also just cool just seeing Yasmin actually talking about how she thinks about it and uses it, which was pretty powerful. So to everyone in the poll, there is a poll there. Would you like more information on hands-on tech and the incredible Lego education offering? If you click yes, it allows us to share information with Edward so that he can follow up with you. I think they're doing some really, really cool stuff. You can also check out their website and you can check out their expo booth. So Edward, thanks for making coding and robotics fun. That's pretty cool. Appreciate your time. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go into another demo session coming from someone very much involved with education, and then after that we have 3 companies that are going to just talk into coding, robotics, and bring it into the curriculum, and they are going to pitch some offerings to you. But before we get to that, we also have a prize giving. But before we get to that, I'm quite excited. Next up is Karen Walstra, who kind of is a trainer of teachers. And we went out and we said, listen, schools, who can you recommend to talk to about introducing coding and robotics across the curriculum? And every single person we spoke to said, speak to Karen, have her talk. So Karen, I'm quite excited for your session. I think you have a lot of experience and expertise in this regard, and excited to see what you have to share with the schools. There we go. And Karen, I see your screen sharing's on. If you can Alt-Tab and try turn your video back on. I want to see, there we go. Your video is on. So now we can see you and your presentation, and you are muted. So you just have to unmute. You are still muted.
Okay, there we go.
Brilliant.
That's right.
That is right. And Karen, just because you're on and because I want to see if everyone is awake, and I love simple things, I'm just going to say too simple and see if anyone does anything in the chat bar. Oh my gosh, that was quick. Golly, well done everyone. Okay, but that's enough fun for me. Karen, over to you.
So Peter, I want to know the poll I asked to put in, will it get put up?
We can set a poll for you. Tell me
So
what
I
that
sent
poll
it
should
to
say.
Ashley. I sent it to Ashley and Anika. So if they could type it, that would be great.
Okay, we've got it. We're going to post it for you in the next minute. Thank you so much.
Great. So hello, everybody. I'm super excited to be sharing. And I just loved what Yasmin said. I agree with her completely. And I am passionate about STEAM. But today I haven't actually used that wording at all because I was asked to look at it from a coding and robotics point of view. So in 2016, 6 different countries around the world introduced coding and robotics in different shapes and forms. And we were one of those countries. So Singapore looked at it from computer science, making it mandatory. The UAE, they launched it because of them wanting their parents saying, let's do this. Australia is putting a lot of money into funding STEM in the different areas of schooling. The Philippines, also because children said, we want to do this. Qatar said it because they want to prepare their children. And then we're in the space where teachers began to be trained, but at the same time, we had our curriculum the draft was launched. So why are we even doing this? Well, the World Economic Forum talks about skills that are needed for 2022. Analytical thinking, active learning, creativity and originality, technology design and programming, critical thinking and analysis, complex problem solving, leadership and social influence, emotional intelligence, and reasoning, problem solving and ideation. How much of your teachers are doing this? And for me, looking at the way I taught technology all those years ago and then introduced coding and things when it came along, and now looking at the robotics and coding curriculum, it can address a lot of these issues. So for me, don't be afraid of the curriculum. This is not a new idea. Seymour Papert was saying this already in the 1960s and 70s when he introduced Logo. So in the chat, how many of you played with Logo or still do? So developing your students' thinking in different ways was his purpose. And he developed it into a concept called procedural thinking, which related to constructivism theory. And lots of the teaching that we do today relates to constructivism. So think about how you can incorporate it, like Yasmin said, not just in one subject, but in every subject. So we've got this new draft curriculum. And so teachers and schools are thinking, oh, how do I do this? And feeling the pressure in terms of incorporating it. For me, it's not that difficult. So where do you begin? First of all, think about getting everybody on board. As a school, think about...
Sorry, Karen, just while you're doing that, sorry, we've checked on our side and we can't find the poll. What would you like the poll to say? And we'll write it up quickly.
Okay, so the poll said, why are you considering implementing or continuing with robotics and coding? And then my selections were to prepare learners for the future, pressure from parents, pressure from learners, or school strategic plan.
Oh, golly.
Something like that.
We will
Don't
write
worry.
something up in line with that, and we'll post that shortly. Thank you. Bye.
Cool. Bye. So get everybody on board. Start with as the principal. If you're a teacher doing it, please get your principal on board, and then get the whole school leadership involved and inform everybody. Get the teachers to know what's happening. Inform your governing body. Don't leave them out because you want funding. You want perhaps new venues. Talk to your parents. And even, oh, my voice has gone funny. Sorry. And even speak to your support staff, the people who've got to clean the classrooms, perhaps pack away equipment that hasn't been packed away. Get your staff to know how to use the space. And then bring your children on board. Looking in the chat, somebody said children introduced her to Lego. So get your learners involved. But really think about how you're going to implement this idea of coding and robotics in your school. And do an audit. First things first. What does your school already have? Explore all the different areas. Think about what you need to consider. Do teachers feel uncomfortable and need to be trained? Look at your existing facilities. Do you have electrical points? Do you need a new room? Are you going to use an existing room? And then what kinds of equipment and things are you going to buy? What facilities do you need? So the working space or a classroom, or you're going to look at many rooms that you're going to change. Ask yourself, do you convert a room? Do you build a room? Do you use a mobile unit within a general classroom? So think about where you are now and what you want to achieve. Where do you want to be in the future? Then think about the budget. Decide on whether you need big money, if you're going to be doing lots of building, or if it's going to be budget line items. But start planning for the things that you want to buy. You might be using free resources, and like Yasmin showed you, there are amazing free resources. But if you're wanting to buy robots and things and tools, think about how that's going to be purchased. So plan carefully. Don't just buy for the sake of buying. Think about what you're going to use and what's going to be good for your school. So what content is going to be explored? Well, the curriculum as it's written now talks about going from grade R to grade 9, and your grade R's and to 2s have 1 hour a week, whereas the other grades, they're talking about 2 hours a week. So how does this fit into your time allocation? Then if we look about that, it's guided in terms of wanting children to become problem solvers, to think critically, to work collaboratively and creatively, to function in a digital and informative driven world, and to apply digital and ICT skills to transform these skills into everyday problems and possibilities. How are you going to do this within your space? And furthermore, that the subject aims in equipping learners to contribute in a meaningful and a successful way in a rapidly changing society. Think about the examples Yasmin showed around that. So in the robotics and coding curriculum, we've got these 5 areas. And then you've got computational thinking and engineering design processing. So your content are your pattern recognition, algorithms and coding, robotics, internet and communication skills and application skills. And your methodology is the computational thinking and the engineering and the design process within the system. So think about these 2 areas. For your computational thinking, the 4 areas of computational thinking they focus on are pattern recognition, decomposition, algorithm design, and abstraction. Whereas your design thinking, which is similar to the technology process, if you taught design and technology, or the design process, or even design thinking, includes investigate, design, make, evaluate, and communicate. So that's how you're going to teach it. And for me, that's really exciting, because we are then putting our children back into a space of solving problems. So we want our students to investigate, design, make, evaluate, and communicate. And this is like the engineering design process, the technological process, the design process, or design thinking. All are very similar within that space. Whereas computational thinking, if we're looking at pattern recognition, or we're looking at decomposition, abstraction, and algorithm design. So when we're talking about the different areas within the different spaces, these 4 areas, so algorithm and coding, robotics, internet communication, and applications, are taught in the intermediate phase and the senior phase. For foundation phase, they've added pattern recognition and problem solving. If you're teaching the design process, you will be teaching problem solving all the way through anyway, but they've added it in specifically for foundation phase. So think about how you could actually be focusing on the teaching. So for example, for pattern recognition, you could be getting children to be threading things or designing things that they could make, like these little spoons, or getting them to do activities where they are looking at creating patterns or solving problems. For example, using the B-bots and things on the carpet below with other lessons. Teaching children about internet, for me, is really, really important. So internet safety is really something that we need to be teaching all the time. And we should not just be teaching it within your IT kind of lessons. If a teacher is using any form of technology, they should be making the children aware of internet safety. And then what about e-communication skills and the etiquette around that? Then if we look at productivity systems, which is the application skills, we don't just want people to be using the productivity systems, but we actually want them to be solving problems and to be thinking about this. For me, I love this picture. This was a picture I took in India at a school where it was Diwali, and the principal had said that children had to use algorithms or math statements to actually create a picture. And this student then created this picture of a river with Diwali candles on it. That's really getting your children to be creative using a spreadsheet. Think about how we're getting our children to be truly creative in all the tools that they're using. And then we need to make them aware of all the applications that we use and how to use them. We shouldn't just assume that they know. So whether it's virtual reality and augmented reality, which are mentioned in the curriculum, but it's every single app that we use within the space. And then what about your different forms of coding? So going from your icon-based type coding all the way through to getting them into different coding languages. And there are a range of different tools. Go and play with these different types of resources. Find ones that will suit your school. The same applies for robotics. Start with ones where the children can actually be making it and understanding what a robot is, that it's made of a system, that it's a mechanical system and an electrical system, that it's got a structure around it, and then begin with actually adding in the coding. Whether you're using actual little robots or whether you're getting your students to make their own using microbits of some description. So there are lots of different kinds of microcontrollers, whether you're using Arduinos or Raspberry Pis or microbits, you can decide, but get your students to be thinking about how they would make things work. Getting them to understand how sensors work is really important. Once you've thought about this curriculum, you now need to think about the facilities that you need. So what you're going to consider, what devices are you going to use for your coding? What spaces do you need? Do you need a design area or a clean area? Do you need workshop or making areas? What about a research area where the children can go and explore more learning? What about a robotics kind of space or an arts and kind of creative area? And then you might have other technologies like VR or drones or AI or other types of things. Whatever you're using, you need to think about how you're going to look after this and how it's going to be stored. So plan really carefully before you buy your resources. Think about what you want to teach for your coding and robotics, what equipment you might consider. So are you going to have laptops and tablets, or are you going to use electronics and microcontrollers, or are you going to use pre-made robots? Are you going to add in 3D printing and laser cutting? Do you want to do drones and VR? And if they're going to be making, do you need tools, hand tools, or other types of electric tools? So really think about it before you jump in. Perhaps you're going to have a system at your school where you have mobile units that can store your devices or have the hand tools and can move from classroom to classroom. Perhaps you could have a space where you have robots that are stored and can also live in a space or be moved from area to area. Or maybe you've got a fixed little area in a classroom where the children can work, but the rest of the classroom is a normal classroom for students to function. Or perhaps you have a multi-purpose classroom which covers a whole range of different types of technologies and areas that your students could actually go in and work with. So think about, do you want dedicated areas or do you want moving areas to suit your school? But most importantly, please remember storage. Storage is just so important. And the most saddening story is when you've got to say to a child, sorry, your work is broken or things have disappeared because it wasn't stored properly. Also, when you're buying tools that cost a lot of money, you want them to be stored really effectively. And then think about how they are stored. Consider if you're having robots and things, how they're going to be charged. So think about where you're going to be putting these charging stations. Where do you need them to be stored so that you can really have it done effectively and in a manageable space. So really think of the safety around that. But how are you encouraging your children to be problem solvers in all of this? So think about relating it to real world problems. And for me, looking at the UN Sustainable Goals is just a fantastic way of doing it, because all our lessons can link to this. And then introducing them and making them aware of really modern and amazing technology that's just changing all the time. If we link our lessons to that, it just makes it more effective. So what about thinking about how you can take projects which are really simple from a STEM point of view and turning them into a coding kind of thing, where you might be making a vegetable garden and then adding your electronics where they can measure it and see what's happening around it. What about looking at adding energy consumption monitors around your school so students know how your energy is being used? Or what about having hydroponics or vegetable tunnels where you can add your technology to that as well? So making the learning real for your students. Whoever is driving this at your school must be well organized, must have good classroom management, and must be willing to allow learners to be creative. So the curriculum says only 1 or 2 hours, but incorporate this kind of thinking in all your subjects. Make it subject relevant. Expose and develop your learners to all these areas as much as possible, not just the 1 hour a week. Grow your whole staff. Take away their fear within that. So think about how your professional development is for everybody in terms of technology as this whole big field that the schools could move into. And really think about the change methodology in terms of thinking, questioning, and getting your students to reflect. So it's really about thinking, solving the problems. Get your students to be hands-on in their learning. Get your students to be playing and thinking, to be creating products and reflecting on those and saying, what could I do better? Think about how you can get them to be thinking, to be questioning in all that they're doing in terms of using the technology. So make your coding and robotics implementation effortless. Make it customized to suit you. Get it to be what will suit your school and your teachers, and have a plan of action as to how you're going to do this. So why do we need to do this? Well, in 2017, across the country, only 2,843 students were doing computer and information sciences at university in South Africa. That is so, so scary. What is it like now? It hasn't grown much more. And if we look at pay scale from 2019, look how few women we've got within this space. Whether we're teaching boys or girls, we need to be creating an awareness of this kind of technology and saying, how do we get everybody involved? So what are the signs of effective tech? Improve digital literacy skills among the whole population. Think about your support staff at school. How are you building their digital literacy skills? Or your admin lady who's too scared to use the computer, as well as your teachers and your learners. Think about this as a whole community thing and not just a subject type thing. That more citizens use perseverance, adaptability, and critical thinking. More
Karen, just so you are aware, sorry, that's 45, oh, brilliant, 45 seconds, all yours.
Cool. More students studying computer sciences at university. More students studying engineering fields. Equal number of female and male students in computer careers. So every time we teach a child something, you prevent them from inventing it themselves. So have that creativity thinking going. Get them to be problem solvers. Thanks, everyone.
Karen, that was absolutely amazing. I think just such practical, relevant stuff like storage and charging. It's one of those things, if you don't think about it, then suddenly you end up in a place and things break. And yes, so I can see why everyone asked you to share. So thank you for giving us just a really great overview. So everyone knows Karen's poll is live. So some people have answered already. You'll see it's kind of should be second from the top. I just want to see what some of the answers are. So here we go. 65% said to prepare learners for the future of learning, and then 31% said school's strategic plan. So that was on that poll. So very interesting. I'm glad most people are going, this is looking at kids and their future. So Karen, I have to ask this because we love people talking about also products they use. So on the coding and robotics side, what is your, if you had to recommend one product and you can be unbiased, what would you say?
So coding and robotics for me are separate.
Yes, so you can go one for each.
Yeah, so for me, I was introduced to Purple Mash, and for me, I just love it. I love the progression of learning. I love that you've got all the other tools around that you can really use. So for me, I just love that. From a robotics point of view, if you look behind me, I have lots of toys. So yes. I love playing with this little guy. So for me, as a design and technology teacher, this kind of robot was the first one that I used, and it's metal, and so it doesn't break, but you're teaching children about the structure, the system, so the whole, whoops, where's the camera? The whole part of it. So this kind of little robot, for me, I really love, where it's durable, but you can add bits on, kids can code it.
Fantastic. Karen, you've been absolutely amazing. And it's great to see that you mentioned a word. If I mention it, people can win. So I'm going to say a word now, purple potatoes. Caught you guys. I didn't say the word, I said purple potatoes. There we go. Neil's going, ha, ha, ha. But just to be a little bit more fun, I'll say it now, purple mash. Brilliant. Karen, oh, wow, that was quick. Karen, you've been absolutely amazing.
I just wanted to say, on your booth, I've given away a prize in terms of an internet safety course I'm running. So if schools visit your booth, I believe there's a lucky draw for the prize.
Okay, so for
chat to Renee.
Brilliant. Yes. So for everyone, so Karen, thank you so much for reminding me. You can drop off now. Really appreciate your time. I'm going to mention that booth now. Ashley, I believe, is in the background and is going to come on. So let's see if she comes on. What Karen was mentioning is the School Advisor and Schoolscape are two partner companies. So if you visit School Advisor tenders, what you can do is you can jump on there, and Karen has given some prizes up for grabs, which is absolutely amazing on safety. So please go on and you can enter on the School Advisor Tenders booth. School Advisor Tenders, it's a business that is set up if you are doing big ticket items, if you're going to be rolling out coding and robotics across the school and you want to put it out as a tender to keep accountability, transparency, etc. in place, then School Advisor Tenders is the way to go for any big ticket items, from TV, audio visuals throughout the school to new AstroTurfs to whatever. They can help you, and it's free for schools, which is pretty cool. Ashley, you're alive. How are you feeling?
I made a miraculous comeback.
Well, the good news is we've kept you out of the office. I'm glad you are feeling better.
My home.
Very nice home. Ash, well then I'm going to sit back and relax, and you can host the next couple of sessions. So off you go. I'm going to put my feet up.
If you were in yesterday's session in the afternoon, Rian van der Berg from FedSys was trying to steal my thunder. So I said, no. I'm coming back. I'm coming back to my screen and my people, my community. Thank you for letting me rest. But yes, today, this afternoon, are we in the afternoon yet? I'm not even sure, probably not this morning. We're going to be looking now at some amazing companies that can really help you on this journey of coding and robotics. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Resolute Robotics to SA SchoolCoding and to Python and Pieces. So Python and Pieces is part of Too Simple's basket of amazing offerings, and Too Simple is actually our sponsor for the day. So I haven't said it yet. I'm now said it a few times. Good luck in that competition, hint, hint. But yeah, we want to say a massive, massive thank you again.
Golly, you said it at about 10 times, so everyone's just gone crazy.
Oh gosh, I'm for you, my people. I'm for you. Okay, no, I'm not saying it. Tim and his team, I'm just going to call you from Simple Things. Tim and his team from Simple Things they really are an incredible team, and we're really thankful for them jumping in and their passion around coding and robotics. So we're going to hear from Tim himself a little bit later, but first up in this, we're going to chat to SA SchoolCoding. So Moritz and Sean, you can jump on stage with me. Moritz and Sean are they are doing some amazing things in the field of coding and robotics in many schools in South Africa. And we're just going to have them today chat a little bit about their offering and what they can do and how they can help your school integrate coding and robotics effortlessly into multiple curriculum and multiple subjects. So welcome, Sean. Welcome, Moritz.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So, Sean and Moritz, I'm going to hand it over to you. You go ahead, and I know the audience is really looking forward to hearing your insight from an industry level.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. Sean, are you with us?
Sean, you just need to mute and unmute again. We can't hear you. You're muted.
There we go. Thank you very much. Nice to be with you all. So we've got a couple of questions lined up for you, Moritz.
Oh boy.
I believe you've been doing coding and robotics for many years. Maybe you could just give us a little bit of a background.
So yes, thanks, Sean. I actually don't want to say I was a primary school teacher. I am a primary school teacher. So I was teaching primary schools from 2007, and in 2013 I was introduced to the IT lab, an hour of code, and everything just started to scale from there, introducing coding in the school where I was at. Got me to the position where I could resign at the end of 2016 and work for myself from 2017 onwards, not looking back ever. Now, Sean, you are muted.
Sean, are you there?
We lost him.
I think we lost Sean. Don't worry, Moritz. We'll jump in and ask you a couple of questions just to keep you going. Do you by any chance know what Sean's second question was going to be? Then
yes, I actually do the second question. The second question was, why do you offer coding and robotics at your school, or why do you want to introduce learners to coding and robotics? Now, most of the people will say the obvious answer is, no, it's because of the 4 C's or the 4 IR, but that's not really it. So we first need to get to the foundation. What is coding and what is a robot? So coding is the instruction or the language that we use to instruct a computer or a device to perform a specific task. And a robot is actually something very familiar in South Africa. We almost find them at every intersection with a red, a yellow, and a green light. We actually call them traffic lights, supposedly, but we know them as robots. So the robot does not have to be an electronic device. It can be, for example, a child that receives instruction from a peer and follow those instructions, and it's good for listening skills and to see how children respond to an instruction. So that is just a quick definition. Now, the question, why do you want to introduce coding and robotics at your school, reminds me a lot of, why should I have an AstroTurf at my school? And most schools, when I've asked them, the reason was that we want an Astro for our children, because if we don't offer it, they will go to another school. Wrong answer. So when it comes to coding and robotics, we should not just offer it because the Joneses are doing it, the next school are doing it. What do we want? Why do we want to offer it at our school? Now, The goal is not to teach children to become coders. It is to teach them how to think like a computer, how to think critically, how to solve problems. It is about to better understand the fourth industrial revolution, or the 4I world we are currently living in. We do not teach healthy living with the goal of turning everyone into doctors, but we do teach them how to stay healthy. So that's basically the idea of teaching or introduce children to coding and the robotics. The next question that Sean would have asked was,
I'm here,
who is your...
Maurits.
Oh, welcome, Sean. What is your second
Sean is
question?
back.
Thanks to the Schoolscape technical support. So I'm curious to know, what is your thinking about choosing a coding and robotics partner or supplier?
Oh, that is such a great question, Sean. Thanks for asking it. You see, first thing you need to ask on this company that approach your school with their massive flyers and beautiful robots and coding kits and everything is, are they the new kid on the block? What is their track record? Do they have references? As a company, we are one of the top 21 companies listed on Schoolscape. So tick box ticked. So we've got a reference or a resume there. We are listed on FETSAS, another tick box. We present regularly at e-learning events, another tick box. We have a good relationship with the DBE. So just make sure that when a service provider approach you, that you just make sure what is their track record, because they will do the big talk to your school just to get the sale at the end of the day.
And just on that point, how long have you been looking after schools in coding and robotics, Maurits?
So since 2016, we've started with extramural clubs, and that escalated to an in-school program, assisting the DBE with a new coding and robotics curriculum in 2019, and then starting authoring workbooks based on the CAPS curriculum for shooter and shooters that's now also being launched at schools across the country.
Just a sort of side question that comes to mind, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go off script a bit, but I know you're okay with that.
No.
Is it easy or challenging for a supplier like yourself, who lives, eats, breathes, sleeps coding and robotics, is writing a curriculum for schools? How easy or straightforward is it to get to a school and start talking to them about it?
If it's a cold call, then it's not as easy as a school that invites you to come and talk to them. But when we are invited by schools, the warm welcoming, and we introduce our system and our solution, then we can get the school on board. And you know what? After training teachers, a 2 or 3 hour session working with a teacher on our platforms, they are able to comfortably offer coding and robotics in their school, get the whole school on board, excited, just like Karen also mentioned in her talk. The buy-in is there. So that's really great when we have schools like that that's on board.
But I thought that, for example, there's a pilot going on through the DBE. And from my understanding, those teachers need 160 hours of training in order to present the curriculum.
That is true. The idea there is to give them a certificate with those hours. It will be SACE accredited as well. So to give them a certificate and to say, listen, you've done our training. What we have to offer with our solution and our training, yes, it's only 3 hours, but the emphasis is on the support that we provide to the school, to the teacher, not just a drop and a go system, not leaving them and say, okay, thanks for your money, we're off, go to the next school, but to really work with the teacher, to hold them by the hand, give them the support, give them the training. And I think, once they start to hands-on work with the curriculum, with the children, teaching them, with our support, they will catch on quickly. And you know, working with 20 schools in the past already, the proof is there. Our system and solution works.
That's amazing. So do I understand you correctly that with a brand new school that's never done coding and robotics before, and 2 or 3 hours of training and access to your curriculum, they can start teaching coding at their school?
If we deliver, let's say they want to purchase the workbooks, that's Capsline. So they purchase the books arrive at the school. We get them on board in our Google Classroom, the teacher. We give them an orientation. We give them a training. This happens maybe on the Thursday and the Friday. On Monday, they can walk into class and start teaching their first lesson.
I mean, that sounds
So we give them all the tools.
Have you done that with a school recently?
We have done that with several schools recently with a huge success rate. Yes, and you as a school are more than welcome to go and browse our website to see our existing clients, to contact our clients and get our resume there and just ask, you know, the feedback from them. But because at the end of the day, as a service provider, we can do all the talk, but the proof is in the pudding. So when you talk to the school and get their input and their feedback, welcome. Website schoolcoding.co.za.
Moritz, how does your solution align with the new draft coding and robotics curriculum?
800% align with the new.
Just to let you know.
What says Sadar? But
Oh, you have 1 minute left, Moritz, to answer. And I also just wanted to remind everyone that there's some polls running for SA School Coding, really interesting ones that they've posted, and we're also going to post a lead generating poll. But yeah, Moritz, last minute.
Okay, we had some technical issues, so I'm going to borrow another minute, please. The latest. Sorry. So yeah, aligned. I'm writing with shooters based on the new coding and robotics curriculum. We've got our workbooks, the foundation phase books already. The intermediate phase books will be launched. We've got teachers' guides, the workbooks, everything available. We support and we guide. One important thing that I just want to raise and point out that to schools, like Karen also said, with the budget and everything that you have to work out, make sure that the company you approach or who approach you, ask how aligned are they to the new curriculum? That is an important question. Otherwise, you will buy a 3D printer for your grade R's. You will not use it, becomes a white elephant, and you're stuck with a thing that only belongs in a club perhaps or in the grade 8 or 9 curriculum. So you can also go browse the curriculum. It's available online with the National Department of Education website.
Thank you very much, Moritz. And I think we are done for this session.
We'll
be back this afternoon.
Moritz,
Yes.
We will be seeing you and Sean again this afternoon, but I really want to encourage everyone out there watching. Moritz and Sean have got a link on their booth. If you like what he's saying, I like what he's saying. I think that really we've known SA School Coding for a long time, and it goes without saying that there's a huge amount of credibility there, both from our side and the government side and everyone else's side. We know that they will help you in your school. So if you'd like to see more about SA School Coding and what they have to offer, please jump onto their booth. There's a link on there for a demo room. You can climb into the Zoom room or the Google Meets room. I think it's a Zoom room, and climb in there and chat to them and get advice from them. And there's a wealth of knowledge there that they are very willing to share. So thank you, James. We'll see you a bit later. And it's always good to have you on the Schoolscape stage. Right. Up next, hello Rajesh, welcome. You can unmute so long. Good to see you. Rajesh equally is not a stranger to the stage. And yeah, I think awesome. What I need to mention before I let you speak is that Rajesh and the guys from Resolute Robotics have given an incredible prize. So if you're sitting in your school and you're wondering how are we going to find the funds to start robotics and coding, and we're so excited about this and we're all powered up, but where do we begin? You need to enter Rajesh's prize. It's worth 85,000 if I'm not mistaken, Rajesh.
100%. worth every cent of it.
I will let you. I will let you explain that. Maybe what do you what the school will get in that. But to win that, we're going to post a poll now. Please enter that poll, or otherwise go onto their booth and click their deals and offers prize. I know this could reform coding and robotics in one of our schools, and we're really excited to see this happen. So yeah, this is Rajesh from Resolute. I'm going to hand the floor over to you, Rajesh, and we really look forward to hearing how you can how you can bring effortless robotics into our schools. And so yeah, why don't you share a little bit on that with us?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think before I share the screen, I'm so excited to actually chat today. I think I love the theme. When I heard the word effortless, I was kind of obsessed with that word when I was young, because growing up watching Roger Federer play at Wimbledon, all the commentators would say, he looks so effortless in his game. And so having that concept, and also seeing yourself and Peter, just effortless presentations, it just doesn't come easy, right? So, I mean, the secret to doing something effortless is to actually have a solid strategy in place. And then more than just a strategy, actually, how you're going to implement it in schools. And once that is mapped out and you are willing to go through the journey, you come across effortless. So really excited to present today. I think I'm going to share my screen, and yeah, really excited to present ourselves to the schools. Thank you. I just want to confirm, can everyone see my screen?
Yep, perfect. I can see it.
Wonderful. So yeah, so I think as I started, the word effortless, effortless robotics and coding means any schools need to have a clear, defined strategy, and also a plan of action on how you're going to actually implement the strategy. And from our side at Resolute, I think Karen mentioned so many of these points in her chat, which is something that resonates with us so much. I think for a school to plan and strategize on how they're going to tackle robotics and coding, there needs to be a discussion around these points. I mean, budget. Do we have the budget to do this, and how much budget do we have? What is the product range that we're going with? There's so many great products out there, Lego Robotics, Python in Pieces, Resolute, so many things out there, and also the right personnel. I think so many teachers are excited about doing it, but there's also a little bit of fear of how am I actually going to implement it, as well as scheduling. I think, how do we borrow time? I mean, I was a teacher that taught maths and science at a school, and always short on time. So how do we implement this amongst other subjects, although the cap says that there is going to be a few hours allocated to this? So these are all things that need to be part of the strategy. And the second thing is your implementation plan. If the school has enough resources, but if not, who is the right partner for the school to take them through the long-term journey? It's not a box dropper who comes and gives you something and then the school has to implement it. So the right partner is going to be with you. A curriculum that is CAPS aligned, something that Sean said, I mean, it has to be aligned from grade 1 to 9. If you're not doing something that's CAPS aligned, then it's going to be very tough, right? As well as robotic kits. The kits need to be, kits are such a barrier to entry. I mean, a lot of companies are saying robotics and coding, but the robotic aspect is a really tricky aspect that we specialize. I mean, you need to have kits that are easy to enter into easy barrier to entry. Need to be extremely cost effective that you can reuse over the years. Training, absolutely critical. So teachers need to be trained. They need to feel extremely comfortable in presenting it, and long-term support as well, which is something that we do extremely well. We have bi-weekly, monthly meetings with each school. Every school is unique, and we make sure that the teachers are comfortable in actually presenting this topic to their schools. So from our implementation, I think actively we're in over 35 schools right now, and we're just so excited to be growing so fast. And we've learned some really incredible things having implemented this over the years at schools. And I just want to end off with a few tips and tricks on that I can leave with the school to think about. And yeah, excited to present that. So first thing is start small. I think there's a big misconception that I need to do robotics tomorrow. I need to do it from grade R to 12. It needs to be in curriculum, and that can be an extremely daunting task. So start small with a STEAM day. These are all things that we offer. That's a day or two of innovation where you get everyone in a room and you excite the students up to get the culture of robotics and coding going. Start an after-school club. Many of our schools start as after-school clubs before getting it into in curriculum. After-school clubs are absolutely great. You get the exciting kids to come through, and then the rest of the crowd actually joins. Or just start off with a single term. I think all our courses are 8 to 12 weeks long. So if you feel like a year is too long, take term 2 for a grade 7 or term 4 for a grade 3 and implement something so long so that you can actually get started. So this is the first thing that we see. Once schools cross this barrier, it becomes extremely easy as well. And also start smart, right? So I think there's this misconception that, you know, every kid needs a kit. Obviously, in an ideal world, that would be incredible. We've worked with some big public schools with 800 learners that have implemented it extremely smartly. I mean, for example, if you have 200 learners in your school, you don't need 200 kits. If you are implementing it across grades, which is grade 8 to 9, for example, the grade 8s can start off with coding, the grade 9s can do robotics, and then in term 3 and 4, they can actually swap it around with the kits. So if you have 200 learners and the ideal is for learners to share a kit, which most schools are going, you only need 25 kits. So with 25 kits, you're actually servicing about 200 learners, and those 25 kits can be used over the years. So be smart about how you implement it. And this is one of my favorite slides. Start easy. The 5 most common ingredients are apparently olive oil, flour, butter, chicken, and sugar. And you know, with these things, you can create the most amazing dishes out there, right? So the same way as that works, it works in robotics as well. Find a kit that has the right components. We've really looked at the CAPS's requirements of what robotics components the schools need, and get creative with that. I mean, you don't just have to do a set project each year. We are building new projects every single year. And some of our projects that we use with the same components are automated hand sanitizers, home automation systems, line following cars, access controls, and smart gardens. And smart garden is something that Karen touched on as well. Build a smart garden for your school that automatically waters itself, which is such an exciting project. And finally, well, not finally, be creative. So have an expo at your school. If the kids are doing clubs, have a nice expo day where you invite parents and SUB members where they can see the actual work that the school is doing. We've conducted many expos and really gets the juices flowing at the schools. We also do a lot of parents-teacher evenings. Sometimes it's very difficult for a school to convince parents they need to do this. For example, at one of the schools in Newcastle, we actually had a parents-teacher meeting with the SGB where 80 parents came, and about 50 out of those 80 parents joined as clubs. That's the biggest clubs that we have. And once parents see what the kids are doing and the vision of the school, it's so easy to put a budget behind it and really drive it going forward. And lastly, the most important one, with zero bias, start with us. We at Resolute have been doing it over the years. We've implemented it across all the schools, all the grades, private, public, quintile 3, 4, 5, coding, as well as our really important aspect of it, robotics, that we've created. And we really pride ourselves as being one of the leading experts in this field. Having done electronic engineering myself with a team of engineers and educational experts that we've partnered with, we really feel that we understand the market really well and we can bring you something that's extremely valuable. Just to touch on our product range, we have a user-friendly platform, over 100 hours of videos, because these are such critical concepts. Traditional teaching methods don't work. So having videos, kids absolutely love it. We have easy to assemble robotic kits. We have a full curriculum, actually even a curriculum for 10 to 12 as an extramural club that's CAPS aligned. Incredible teacher training and the best team that you can work with for technical support as well. And to end off with our promotion, we want to, as I've said, we want to actually action it. Kits are the biggest barrier to entry in these points. So we have dropped all our costs for the kits. You can see the depth with the Smart Garden has the biggest drop. So please get hold of us. And each of these kits have a year's worth of curriculum in them. So it's not just a kit for a project. And our biggest promotion is we have modularized all our projects. So if you want to get started on the hand sanitizer or the Smart Garden or the line following rover, we have dropped all our kit costs to 899 Rand so that every single school has an opportunity to get started small, smart, and with Resolute. So thank you so much.
Rajesh, that's definitely time. I'm going to call it. I think maybe I want you to answer this in literally 1 second, but on average, if you have 30 kids in your class, do you need 30 of those kits, or how many would be adequate for a class?
So if you have 30 students in your class and you're sharing 4 kits per group, you would need about 7 to 8 kits and you're ready to go.
Awesome. Okay, so it's a really cost-effective way to do robotics. And yeah, I think we really do, we know the team from Resolute, we're behind the team from Resolute, and it's really good to have you here. And it's always cool to see your robots. I can't wait for my kids to start using robots, mostly so that I can too, but yeah, thanks Rajesh. And we'll hopefully be seeing you again soon. I know you're on this afternoon, but it was a pleasure to have you. Right.
Very excited. Thank you.
Our second last speaker for the day before we do a ginormous prize giving. James, welcome to the Schoolscape screen. It's really good to have you. James is from Too Simple. Oh, I did it again. Sorry. So James is going to be talking about the P in pieces, other side product of Too Simple. He can say it, I can't. But yeah, James, welcome to Schoolscape. It's really good to have you here. They are part of our sponsor team for this event. So again, we can't thank you enough. I know the teachers are thankful, and the heads and deputies and principals and IT managers and all of that are watching. Super thankful to our sponsors who actually make this possible, not entirely Pete and I. But yeah, James, I'm not going to take any of your time. You jump in, and we are super excited to see your in pieces.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely to be here with you, and thank you so much for having me. I've got to say, I've really enjoyed watching the presentations this morning. I've learned a lot, which is, thank you. It's great to be here. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of my background. I'm over here in the UK with Too Simple, and I'm the product manager here. So I look after our whole product range, from Purple Mash, am I allowed to say it, through to Python in Pieces and all the other products that we do.
James, you're definitely allowed to say it, yes. You cannot go through your whole presentation making squigglies on the screen.
Yes. Too Simple is well known around the world. We're in 74 countries, 8,000 schools, I think, now worldwide, and over 200 of those are in South Africa. So we're really well known. And I work very closely with our team in South Africa, who are representing us here at this event, and I'm just really honored to speak here. So I'm really excited to talk to you about Python in Pieces, and how you can use that to supercharge the teaching and learning of coding and robotics in your school. At Too Simple, we believe in teaching transferable skills, and we believe that if you teach children coding, then they can apply that to, if they go into any technology industry, whether that's web development, developing web apps, or even robotics, they can use those skills and transfer them to those industries. And I just want to now go into talking about why we made Python in Pieces. So in the previous talk from Karen, we heard some really worrying statistics, I suppose, about the uptake of computing in universities. And that isn't just, there in South Africa. We had the same thing over here in the UK. And we did our research before we actually made Python in Pieces. We found that in 2018, we had our equivalent senior phase, the overall number of computing qualifications taken by students had decreased by 45% in a year. We'd also seen the reduction of lesson time for our computing curriculum. It was reduced from 1 hour a week down to 45 minutes a week. And that was really, really scary. Like, why aren't people moving into technology and taking up computing? And in our research, we also found that only 36% of computing teachers in our equivalent senior phase were actually computer science graduates, which was a scary statistic. And it's quite simple. We've got history graduates and geography graduates teaching children in senior phase into further education computing, and that just seemed really scary to us. Also in our research, we looked at, what's the most popular language out there to teach at our equivalent senior phase. And that was Python. There was a shift to Python. 21% of schools in our research were actually teaching Python. It came out the most popular. So why Python? Why is that the most popular thing to be starting with? I'm going to answer that question, but first I'm going to ask you guys out there, the audience, a question. I wonder if any of you can just answer in chat. Our team will look at the chat, and at the end, I'll actually give the answer. But why is Python called Python? And please don't just Google that now. If you don't know the answer, don't answer it. But why? Why is it called Python? So that's the question I'm asking you guys, and I'll answer that at the end. But why Python? Why is it taught in schools? Why did 21% of schools teach Python as opposed to Java or C++? Well, Python's much more concise. It's a much more expressive language, and it teaches basic syntax. It has very simple code readability and English-like commands. So it's much easier to teach it and then to transfer the things that they've learned into other languages as well. And Python is it's a scripting language. It's used for web applications. It's used for pages within a web browser, operating shells, even games. Even the Google search engine uses Python. So it is a transferable language that's used within our industry as developers. So I'm now going to share my screen and actually show you Python in pieces. Can you just confirm that you can see my screen? Has it shared?
It is clear and I can see it.
Lovely, thank you. So Python in pieces attempts to solve some of those problems that I'd mentioned previously. We have got in here, so I'm going to just show our resources. We've got a number of lessons which teach very discrete skills, whether that's text output, calculations, step by step. And as teachers, you can see children's progress in what we have as a data dashboard, which shows you every single student, where they are in each lesson, which stage they're on, and how much help they actually needed. And throughout the actual lessons, we provide videos and instruction on what it is that you're actually doing. We provide really clear success criteria. And then at the end of each lesson, there is a consolidation, which allows the children to make something, to use the skills which they've learned and actually make something. We also provide for our non-specialists all the solutions, all the answers to these lessons, so that you guys are just not going to get stuck. It is built for the non-specialist, someone with no prior experience. Overall, there's more than 170 videos guiding you through that content. But I'm going to show you the backbone of what makes Python in pieces really special. We have free code projects, and we have microbit projects. So it links with the microbit, so you can use the microbits here and make it flash and link it up to a robot and control that robot. I'll show you some examples of that. We can set tasks for students. And this here is our coding environment. Now, this is particularly special. You may have seen other coding environments before, but probably nothing quite like this. For example, I can drag things in, and it includes the Python code on the left. Where Python in pieces is different is it allows you to actually do that in reverse. So if I start to type in here, I can actually see the blocks being created on the other side of my screen. Now, that two-way translation really helps scaffold learning. And I'm just going to show you some examples of the types of things that our students create. So actually, I'll show you something that I created. This was the very first thing that I created in Python in pieces. And again, something really unique about Python in pieces is that we have this whole design mode. Now, this design mode allows you to take what is a text-based coding language of Python and do something visual, make it exciting, makes things move on the screen. So here I've just got a very simple script that when I click on the kid, he starts skating. And very quickly we can start to move that into much more advanced things. So here's a game with 142 lines of code, which is, a catching game. It's a bit like Space Invaders. You can make Space Invaders in this. The other thing, just to show you the microbit, I'll show you my joke book that I made. It imports the microbit libraries for the Python, but then we actually have a simulation of the microbit here. So even if you don't have the physical microbits, and these are really cheap, you can actually use the simulator.
James, just so you're aware, we've hit time, but happy to give you another minute because this is pretty darn cool.
You're awesome. Thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it. So yeah, you can actually simulate using the microbit here. We also have recently released example libraries in our showcase. Now, this allows your students to share their code and the things that they've created with all our users of Python in pieces around the world. And then they can view other children's code and learn from that as well. I'm not going to go into anything really, any more things on Python, because we've got Ingrid from Glenwood House later actually showing more of this in more detail. But if you want to learn more, speak to our team, and yeah, they will happily help you. And finally, back to that question. the answer, and our team will pick out a winner. You can win a year license to Python in pieces. So when Guido van Rossum was creating the language of Python and implemented it, he was reading the scripts of Monty Python's Flying Circus. And from that, he took the name Python because it was mysterious and cool. And that's where the name Python actually comes from. And I just want to say once again, thank you for having me. I feel really honored to be here, and I've really enjoyed the other talks.
James, I so enjoyed your talk that I have Pete saying, you can go on and tell him there's 1 minute left, and I'm completely ignoring him and just watching you. I think I understand coding for the first time in my life properly. Thank you, James, for that. I don't think I'll never forget this. But yeah, I think what an awesome program that he's demoed on here now, and it's so exciting to see how simple it can be for our students and how accessible it can be. So thank you, James, from Simple Things. From
just say it, Ash. Say too simple.
I will not say it because
I did.
So you said it, but yeah, I think if you want to see a more robust demo of Python in pieces and what this company has to offer for coding and robotics, please jump onto this afternoon session, and it's going to be awesome. Next up, we have Robert Faltermeyer. Hi, Robert. You are also not a stranger here, and it's really good to see you and have you on today. He's the innovation director at JEPI, Rob's going to share some really interesting things from his master's thesis with us. So he did a master's thesis recently on the physical setup of your school and using your space well. And I'm now dumbing that down terribly. You can do your really good job of making that sound much better. But yeah, I think I'm really excited to hear about this. We've heard a lot today about using your space and planning well. And I think Rob's talk is going to really come in and help us, I think, more adequately about doing so. So yeah, let's get a fresh perspective on the spaces we already have and how we can use these for things that are up and coming, like coding and robotics and clubs and all kinds of things. So Rob, over to you. Welcome.
Just before Rob. Sorry, just Rob, before you go, there is a poll for that company whose name I can't mention at the moment. So if you want more info on that product that they spoke about that I can't mention, please just hit that poll. And then Rob, over to you. I'm quite excited. I think this is going to be a good session. So thank you.
Cool. Thanks very much. And hello to everybody in Schoolscape land. So I haven't quite finished the actual thesis yet. I wish I was actually there, but I actually am in the process of working out my topic for my dissertation, which is on innovation spaces. And we have all these great, fantastic...
Ramona, how many are live?
Actually use. Sorry? We have all these...
Pete in the background. Ignore him. He's
okay, no problem. We'll do. So we have all these great tools that we can actually use in our school and all that type of stuff. But one of the things that we seem to forget is the actual physical space that these great tools will actually occupy and how that is going to actually affect our actual teaching. And some of the sort of more interesting things is actually how to simplify it. I think it was Rajesh earlier on who talked about like making a sort of recipe and having certain things, and that's a really good analogy. So I'm going to steal that, Rajesh. I hope you don't mind. Is that you need certain things to make things happen. And effectively, the first and most important thing about having an innovation space is simply having space. Now, that sounds maybe a little bit like simple, but it's something that's actually forgotten about. Actually having the physical space to create and allow your creativity and your innovation to actually flow. But what does the space then actually have to occupy? Obviously, it has to be your students, number one. Number two, it has to be the workspace. But I think something that we also forget about is that sometimes things don't always happen at once and they take a period of time. They can be projects, whether to make a space or you're teaching something and it requires students to leave the class and then come back. And storage, things for things to be put in one particular place, and they can pick up and carry on where they are. For example, I also run a coding club here at JEPI, and when we have these sort of robotics projects where they have to design a robot and actually then build it and let it complete a task, this can't be done in one sitting. You actually then need to be able to store it safely, but at the same time, you want to encourage other students to actually see what's happening. And so you want to create like a type of sort of showcase piece where the robots in their sort of semi-built form can exist in one place and they can actually be. But more importantly to that is actually creating a environment that actually creates the ability to be creative and also to be adaptable. Some of the things that we're finding is that what we're going to be doing at JEPI is we're actually funding and working with architects at the moment to actually build a type of innovation hub. And a lot of the sort of pre-planning is actually an investment in time of what will the space look like? What does this space actually have to achieve? And even though that requires a number of meetings and a number of thought processes and sort of redesigns, that time is never ever wasted. That time is actually designed to help you figure out what you need. And I think what's also more importantly is also the future-proof ideas. Where do you think the sort of in the next 5 years things are going to be? You don't want to spend a whole lot of money and then realize the space might be small or the space can't be adaptable. Some of the more practical things is like having folding doors, things that can make a larger space when you need it, or if you need something a little bit less intimidating, you can close it off. But I think it's also this idea of trying to showcase things. So some of the things we've been thinking about is having these sort of folding glass doors where you can also write on these actual things and put out your ideas there. And somebody can walk past and see something and say, oh, that's a great idea. And they can get inspiration from that. And so the whole idea about space and being involved, I think, comes down to, is it adaptable? And do you have enough space? And what does adaptability mean? Are you going to have a maker space where you need 3D printers? Are you going to have workshops? Are you going to have sewing machines? Are you going to have all these different types of designs? Are you going to need a space to charge your actual cabinets? What is that charging space going to be like? One of the more frustrating things that I think some people might have experienced is that sometimes your lesson is eaten up by just handing out your devices, getting them charged, or they're not charged enough. And so you actually lose contact time. I think somebody mentioned earlier that the whole idea of time involved into robotics and coding actually is starting to decrease. And with what little time is left, that time is wasted on just setting up the venue. Those are things that you need to try and future-proof and try and take into account so that you're maximizing your contact time with your actual students. But also, it's also trying to make it adaptable so that it caters for individual students. And the whole innovation space idea doesn't just have to be for something where something physically can be made. The sort of focus of my thesis is also going to be looking at how that translates into the normal classroom. I mean, I'm sure some of us have always had those kids that are a little bit fidgety in the background. And there's some research that having 1 or 2 standing desks in the back of your class where kids are always jumping up and walking around, they actually prefer to go to a standing desk because all that extra energy that they have built up inside of them can actually be used in actually standing, and then they can focus and carry on in the actual classroom themselves. But something else that is also really cool is to also maybe have these spaces at strategic points in your school. And you can then take your students out of their normal class and take them to a new class, something that has a bit of novelty, something to sort of change up the actual curriculum, that you can teach it in a different way. But also these spaces should be allowed to do creativity. I'm a history teacher by profession, and some of the things that I think of that might really make your lesson a lot more creative is an example I saw when we visited a school in America where they were doing Greek history. And what they actually did is they took the students to the makerspace and they made them design and 3D print a Greek trireme from 500 BC. So not only was the context behind how sort of Greeks used and the Athenians sort of controlled their GNC, there was also some robotics. There was designing. There was the 3D process. And then the students got to keep that actual artifact that they made in the space, which they could then take home as sort of a reminder of how different subjects can actually interlink and actually create the creative juices to actually be where they can help encourage where the 21st century can take us. I think the spaces themselves, I think, is a core principle around the 4 C's. Does your space allow for creativity? Does it allow for critical thinking? Does it allow for communication? Does it allow for collaboration? Is your space too crowded? Is maybe the classroom not right? How can you actually take the space you already have and try and make it a lot more interesting? Some of the things I've seen teachers do, which might sound like a sort of a horrific thing to actually do, is to actually get rid of the teacher's desk, and instead they have a podium. Now, some of the benefits of that is actually you can actually stand, which I know it's tiring for teachers to actually do that, but you're also burning sort of energy. You're then creating more space. You're creating like a lecture type feel. It also forces you, the teacher, to then actually walk around the class a little bit more, and then you get forced to engage with your students a lot more. Sort of like passive changes within the classroom environment that can allow you to actually engage with your students a lot more. I think one of the things that we need to realize is the space where we teach our students are inherently hungry for knowledge. Maybe not always, but your level of engagement and your level of excitement. Also, if you are in a space that is exciting and you want to make use of it, that energy gets translated into the students themselves. Ashley, I don't know if you've got any particular questions, or Peter from your side onto that.
Awesome. No, I think I'm really loving what you have to say, because it's simple. It's taking what teachers have and what's accessible to them. It's great ideas, and just sharing ideas on how to change it up and do it better and innovate. Even with a podium idea, I love that idea, because it is innovative. It's a different idea. It's a good idea, even though it doesn't incorporate a mass amount of technology into it. This is really good thinking, and we really appreciate you coming and sharing.
Can I ask a question quick? So Rob, I love asking this question to everyone, taking into consideration what you're saying. What is one thing that any school or teacher could do that you think would have the biggest impact?
I would say try something different and see where it takes you, even if it's a failure. Don't be scared to actually try something different and actually take a risk. I mean, part of the whole 21st journey is learning to understand that risk-taking is actually a good thing. If you think about all the famous innovators out there, like Elon Musk, George Bezos, or whatever, they had failures along their way. And to use the famous example of Thomas Edison, they wouldn't be where they are if they didn't have failures or see where it is. And I think what's important is we as educators need to emulate that behavior in our class. And if we are emulating it and we're making that a safe space to be, then that'll be passed on to our students, which will make society better in the long run. So that would be my one thing. Try something, run with it, see where it takes you.
I think that's lovely, and it came up in a couple of our sessions yesterday. Just try, and if you fail, you fail, and it's not a bad thing. And also, the kids will learn. I think it's a teacher being real. So I think try something. So I'm going to put a challenge out there to all the teachers in schools. Try something different in your class that might engage the learners better. I think it is a great point. Ash, anything from your side to ask?
Yeah, no, I think that I'm a huge enthusiast when it comes to technology and just the kind of journey that schools and education's on. I'm so glad that, I wish I was there, but I'm so glad that I have kids in this time that might get to build their history in 3D printers, or go explore it with AI and VR headsets. And I just think it's so exciting. It's such an exciting time. And Rob, thank you that you're taking the time to study further, to challenge yourself, to share these ideas. I know it's not going to be the last time that we have you here, and we appreciate your time. And go forth and continue, explore and share and take risks and innovate. It's really exciting.
And now we've got a whole pile of prizes to give away.
We do.
So Rob, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Honors, because
all right,
got a whole bunch of names of amazing, amazing schools, amazing different people that are going to be winning. So Pete, why don't you do the honors of handing out some prizes, and then.
All right. Cool. So let's hand out some prizes. It is too simplified. Close, but no. I didn't say the right word. I'm just messing with you guys. I'll say it properly now. Too simple. All right. So first up, we've had a leaderboard running at the moment. So what we did is on the top 10, we've been drawing a prize, and Opar you are the winner of our leaderboard competition. I know you've been engaging. We've had some amazing engagement. If you've not yet joined and had a kind of look at our discussion topics, please jump in. But Opal, you're going to win a 500 Rand Sonic, sorry, not a Sonic Wall voucher, a 500 Rand Take-A-Lot voucher from the team at Sonic Wall. So well done, Opal. And then yesterday, Sonic Wall also, there was a poll where you could say if you were a Google or a Microsoft or an Apple school. And the winner of that, I'm happy to announce, is Walter Kruger or Walter Krier. You are the winner of that. And once again, that was from Sonic Wall. And because Sonic Wall is awesome and they love giving away stuff, there's another 500 Rand one that they gave away. And that was if you joined one of their polls. And that went to, from South Downs College, Cheryl Bateman. So those are all our Sonic Wall 500 Rand Take-A-Lot winners. And then one of the big prizes for today. So Dean, who spoke right in the beginning, he is going to do a parent webinar. And I really hoped my kid's school would win this one because I know it's something they've been chatting about. But if you want more info on him, you can pop onto the exhibitor booth, My Social Life. But that webinar is won by, and we are drawing it now, Shanna Hughes from Westville Girls High School. So congratulations, you entered that poll and you're going to win that webinar for all of your parents, valued at about 14,000 Rand. So that is amazing. All right, and then yesterday D6 had a prize up for grab where you could win like biltong and a leather this and wine holders, I think. And the winner for that, we did it prize draw, is from La Rochelle Girls Primary, and that is Trudy McLachlan. Golly, and the crazy thing is we are only halfway through the prizes. So well done, Trudy. Just one last thing. At the end of this session, we are going to post all our social media links. So Facebook, Twitter, the whole Insta, those links. If you click on those links and you follow us or like us, you can win one of the last 500 Rand Take-A-Lot vouchers. So please do that. Okay, so this afternoon we're going to give away the Toshiba prize. If you jump onto the discussion topics and search VoIP, voice over IP, there's a conversation going on that on solutions. One of the people actually wanted to link it to MS Teams and have their VoIP with that, and they seem to have found a solution. So very interesting. Jump on that. If you jump on, chat, take part, you could stand to win a whole big hamper with biltong and wine and stuff from Toshiba. Okay, and then yesterday, another Take-A-Lot voucher winner from One Connect. So the guys that do Blackboard, and that was David Jacobs from Florida Primary. So well done. And then also from yesterday, we had a tablet winner. So, and that was from a schooler. They gave that incredible prize away. We did say yesterday, but in case that person missed it, from Japari School is Genevieve Hardy. Okay, we're down to the last three prizes. Get in there. Okay, so also yesterday, someone went onto our social media and I think they reposted or liked or shared, and they are going to win, another Take-A-Lot voucher from Sonic Wall. Golly, Sonic Wall, we just love you guys giving away all of these prizes, and I love it because it's for a teacher. It is so cool. So that goes to Pinelands North Primary School and Tamsin. So well done, Tamsin. Cool. And then just a reminder, this afternoon, we're going to give away the prize for, let's go with Purple Mash. So just a reminder, that's a customized gift. So the person who wins is going to be customized for them. 2 grand pamper for them. And I love it. Too Simple said the reason why they want to do that is they believe in looking after teachers, and they love personal attention for their teachers. So they wanted to do something personal. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I've mentioned their name a couple of times there. Get in on that. Every time we mention their names, you go in on that draw. And then last, golly, Ash, I'm nearly there. Lastly,
in you.
Okay, last up, just a reminder, we have the big passport competition. So how this works is if you visit just 10 exhibitors, If you jump in and you like them, have a chat with them just in the chat bar and enter to get more info from them. So really go and find the companies you actually like, the companies that could have a solution for you. A lot of what this event is about schools sharing solutions they love, and also companies going, this is what we have. And we're very picky on our companies to make sure they are top rated by schools. So if you visit 10 of those companies, you can go in and you could win a visualizer and a webcam from PPM, which is amazing. PPM also always gives us incredible prizes. So if you're ever looking for visualizers or AV, please reach out to the guys from PPM. So there's that. And if you visit 10, and also there's a 1,000 Rand Take a Lot voucher up for grabs. So that we're going to hand out at the end of the day tomorrow. So the platform is still going to be live for the next couple of weeks. So please, if this is your last session, please jump on still tomorrow and take part. Golly, I think I've mentioned enough. Ash, what do you want to say?
I'll jump into some closing thoughts for everyone that's only in attendance in the mornings. We want to say a huge thank you. Thank you. I think I'll do this in sequence. 1, thank you for attending. Thank you for taking risks in the area of tech and innovation in your schools, being willing to jump in and explore and be brave. We as parents and from Schoolscape side, we're just so thankful for you. So thank you for what you're doing in your schools to advance education. And I think secondly, not only from a Schoolscape front, but just in general, thank you to all the educators out there that have held our kids so together and kept them learning and supported them emotionally and everything else through a really trying time in the last almost going on 2 years. I think we appreciate you all, and it can't be said enough that we can't wait to see you in a venue to spoil you, to give you coffee, to give you nice food, to give you prizes. I won't extend this as far as to say I'll hug you, because we're probably not there yet, but one day when we are, I will hug you too. So thank you so much from us at Schoolscape. We can't wait to see you at our next event. Join us on social media. Like I said, we want to be able to keep in comms with you. Thank you to everyone that has been sharing. Miss Positive Pants, all of those. I've been loving seeing you in your classes, in your homes, watching this. It makes us feel a little more connected. And so, thank you to everyone that has been involved in the last 3 days. We will see you this afternoon if you're joining us this afternoon, but otherwise, thank you and all the best for the rest of the year.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And just a reminder, there is a SACE points link. So if you click on that, it's in the chat bar. If you click on that, you fill in your details. Our partners at Get SACE Points, the company, will actually load your points for you. So they'll take away all that schlep, all that effort. So we'll email that out. So everyone, that is us done. David Jacob said the hosts need some self-care after how many times I've fumbled words. I agree. So thank you for putting that. We'll see some of you this afternoon to continue chatting about coding and robotics. Other than that, thank you so much. We love you schools and what you do for our country. Ciao.